Welcome to ClipNotes.
The movie!
How to train your dragon.
The plot!
In the Viking land of Berk, where killing dragons is the way of life, a teenager secretly befriends a dragon while trying to gain the respect of his father, the chief of the Vikings.
The characters!
Hiccup, a scrawny teenager outcast with big ambitions to make his people proud. Stoic the Vast, chief of the Viking tribe, biggest and toughest of them all, also Hiccup's dad. Astrid, a Viking girl determined to be recognized as a great dragon hunter. Toothless, a night fury, the most mysterious and elusive of all the dragons. Gobber, a cool-headed, kinda goofy army man teacher and Stoic's best friend. Rough Nut, Tough Nut, Fish Legs, Snotlout. This is a film based on a book series called Dragon Something Something Dragon Something Something. Pretty much all of the story in the movie is original, and just the main characters in the setting is taken directly from the books. Being that this film doesn't suck, this is one of those movies that proves inaccurate source treatment can sometimes be a good thing. At least when you get these guys behind it. Chris Sanders and Dean Deblois, who also directed Lilo and Stitch. I don't see the resemblance. Do you? They were also some key story writers for some other crap that you've never heard of. Anyway, the story begins with, oh, look, a dragon. Hiccup introduces the land of Berk, home of the Vikings. Scottish Vikings. He explains there's a dragon problem. Everyone is all telling him to get inside, but the narration continues anyway. And in comes Stoic, chief of the Vikings. Wait, that's Gerard Butler, king of the not historically Scottish people. I'm pretty sure people are dying, or dragons are dying. I don't know what's going on, but the place is being torn up like a war zone, and Hiccup is just checking out the cute blonde. He also wants nothing more than to kill a dragon, the cute dragon. So far, the lead hero is kind of a tool. Even the affable armory man thinks so.
To stop all this.
See, this is a running gag. We'll come back to this later. Then the mysterious Night Fury dragon arrives, one that no one has ever seen. That's the one on the poster. So Hiccup, being a scrawny intellectual, tries to take out the dragon with a machine so he can prove his worth. It actually works, and all these shots are subtle and amazing. But then he gets attacked by this big number called a monstrous nightmare, which is Norse Viking for we ran out of names. So Stoic runs in to save the day, and he saves the day. Hiccup is all sorry to his dad. Hiccup tries to tell everyone that he hit a Night Fury, and it fell somewhere past Raven Point. Raven Point sounds cool. But nobody buys it because I guess on top of all of his crappy priorities and cute animal bloodlust, Hiccup is also a liar. So Hiccup gets chewed out for causing destruction whenever he leaves the house. They seem pretty upset about this one thing getting destroyed, even though, Vikings are jerks. Sun's coming up. Hiccup complains about his dad not approving of him. But wait, wasn't there a girl? See, because romance in this is just secondary. HTTYD is actually a love story about a father and his son. The whole thing hinges on this. It's not really like a lack of approval that he has of him. It's more like utter disappointment in how his son turned out, which, as we all know, results in running away from home. So Stoic and the Vikings of Berk have this big meeting about finding the dragon nest. The Vikings all agree to go hunt down the dragon nest, and Stoic has a talk with Gobber about Hiccup being a little freak. Stoic refuses to put Hiccup in dragon training, even though all this kid wants to do is kill dragons to prove himself to his dad. Why does this movie look so good? The next day, Hiccup is adventuring out into the woods trying to find the dragon he hid, and Lord have mercy, he finds it. It's all tangled up in his trap doodad, and so he heads down into the valley to kill it. He vows to bring the heart back to his father as proof. It's pretty dark for a kid's movie. Lighten up, this ain't no Snow White and the Seven Dwarfests. This look, right here, this exchange, this is when it happens. Right there. This is where Toothless the dragon and Hiccup the Viking become a single entity, and their interconnectedness bonds them in ways they can't even begin to understand yet. At first, Hiccup just chickens out, like he's ready to just leave the dragon in the trap, but last second he decides to cut it free. It's unlikely this is Hiccup having a crisis of conscience. Obviously, he was always this way and didn't know it until he was faced with real adversity. The dragon says thank you and zips off into the air, clearly injured from Hiccup's machine. Hiccup comes home, and upon trying to confess that he couldn't kill a dragon, his dad finally lets him start dragon training to kill dragons. Dragon. Everything in this movie is about dragon! Hiccup tries to talk him out of it, but typical old father Stoic, he insists that his son act more like a Viking. That's kind of a bummer. Dragon training begins! Gobber introduces his motley crew of teenage Vikings, and just as a side note, you don't get your Scottish accent until well into adulthood. Even puberty doesn't cut. He tells them the one who does the best at the end of dragon training gets the honor of killing their first dragon. This is important for later. Gobber lists off all these dragon names, and Fish Legs sputters out a bunch of Dungeons and Dragons nonsense.
Stealth times 2.
The monstrous nightmare.
Firepower 15.
The terrible terror.
Attack 8. Venom 12.
And the Gronkle.
Jaw strength 8.
This is a nice nod to all the stuff that nerds dorkgasm over when playing tabletop RPG games.
Stop that!
He's just gonna keep this up through the whole thing. This bleeds into the training scene. Kind of ironic it's called dragon training, don't you think? Gronkle spits fire only 6 times, as predicted by Fish Legs. Giving this idea that dragons are sort of biologically predictable, Gobber has to save Hiccup before his face gets blown off. Dang thing took out everybody but Astrid. And that's because, as Gobber says, dragons always go for the kill. So Hiccup heads back to Raven Point to try to figure out why that dragon screamed at him but didn't kill him. And he finds a dragon scale and wishes with all his heart to fly with dragons in the land of fart.
Oh my gosh,
it, dragon! He watches the pathetic thing flail around like a 6-year-old throwing a temper tantrum and realizes the dragon is missing part of its tail wing. Can't do nothing without that. Hiccup goes back to Burke where some late night lecturing is happening and Gobber shows them the dragon manual. Like seriously, Chris and Dean gotta be a couple of D&D dice rolling nerds to be including all these end jokes. Everybody bails because Vikings don't read no nerd books. Hiccup flips through the book and finds the information to be really limiting. Just a few facts and each entry ends with kill on sight. But the Night Fury entry, it's all Night Fury is unknown and terrifying and the worst. Meanwhile, Stoic and the Dragon Hunter horde are heading into some so pretty. Like, what is... Nope. Visual consultant? What? So apparently they hired the cinematographer who shot this, and this, and he elevated all the lighting and visual elements so that... Hold on, this would make a good wallpaper. I mean... Oh, that's nice. Okie dokie. Meanwhile, another training scene. Hiccup keeps trying to figure out more information about Night Furies while the other kids are fending off a dragon. The whole arena gets wrecked, again because of dragons, but somehow it's Hiccup's fault. And Ash gets mad and he just keeps driving a wedge between him and every other Viking. He takes dead fish out to Raven Point and this big dragon wants the fish, but Hiccup has to get rid of the knife before he can be trusted. It looks like the dragon has no teeth, but his teeth are just retractable, and he vomits the fish back up as a sign of, like, friendship? I wish it was that easy to make friends. The whole thing is really adorable. This dragon keeps mimicking him until he tries to touch the dragon's face, and then the teeth come out. Oh my god, I wanna be a dragon! Hiccup keeps trying to bond, and then while he's drawing in the sand, the dragon mimics him again. Hiccup stands back and looks at the nonsense the dragon scribbled into the dirt, and he steps on it, which makes the dragon mad, so he walks around it, which inadvertently makes him back into the dragon. He tries to touch the dragon again, more growling, and so he looks down and does it again. Now see, this is beautiful moment number 1, because it works. The dragon trusts him and lets the physical contact happen, but only when Hiccup looked away, trusting the dragon to not bite off his hand. Change my mind, I don't want to be a dragon, I want to own one! The trainees have a little bonfire, and Hiccup gets an idea when Gobber points out that dragons, who can't fly, are as good as dead. Astrid notices him leave. That can't be good when the overachiever thinks you're up to something. Build montage! I think this movie is actually getting prettier as it goes on. Hiccup goes back to Raven Point and throws a giant basket of fish at Toothless. The eel freaks him out. I guess eels and dragons are natural enemies. Hiccup gets out the thing that he made and tries to get it on the dragon's tail, and it works! But only while he's on the tail, holding it with his hand. Back to dragon training! Hiccup uses an eel to fend off a dragon, and everyone is blown away. Build montage! Hiccup makes a saddle, and he gets thrown off his dragon. Build montage! Hiccup makes a safety harness so he can... Flying montage! Hiccup and Toothless crash in a field of dragon catnip, so he uses the catnip to subdue a dragon in the arena, and everyone back at Raven Point, Hiccup finds out... Okay, this is just an overall montage where Hiccup gets better at flying on Toothless, and also learns a bunch of tricks for manipulating dragons, which is impressive to everyone in the village, but makes Astrid jealous and angry. He finally gets this little foot throttle thing built. Astrid tries to confront him, but he flies away. And end montage. The Viking horde returns from their hunt, burned and broken, but Stoic learns that Hiccup has become a celebrity. I'm guessing from the state of the sales that probably about 30 men died.
Burns its victims, buries its victims, chokes its victims, turns its victims inside out.
I mean, did that actually happen to someone while they were out there? So Hiccup has it all figured out, using his throttle to change the position of Toothless's tail wing, and he's trying to fly with his little cheat sheet. He makes a mistake and loses his grip, which causes them both to start falling, because without Hiccup keeping his foot on the throttle, the dragon can't control his tail, and their interconnectedness makes them fall together, or fly together. Once he gets a grip, this whole thing happens where he just finally throws away the cheat sheet, and he just... Woo! Then they relax for a minute, and Hiccup realizes that dragons are really easy to get along with, and everything Vikings know about them is wrong. This kinda bums him out, which is kinda bad, but gets much worse when his dad finally shows an interest in him. Stoic is just super proud that his son is showing promise of being a great dragon slayer, and even refers to him as previously being the worst Viking, you know, as a joke. He gives him a helmet made out of his mom's Viking bra. The whole thing is so awkward for Hiccup that he calls it a night immediately. Hiccup feels awful because his dad just doesn't understand. Stoic feels great because he thinks that was a heart-to-heart. Still a better love story than the Twilight Zone. Back to the arena! This is like a final exam dragon battle. Astrid is all crazy determined, and Hiccup wins and is chosen by the Elder to... Where'd that Elder lady come from? Whatever. Hiccup is chosen to kill the first dragon. So that's that. It's time to run away. He heads back to Raven Point and kaboom, there's Astrid. Seriously, just look at the light in this movie. That's another good wallpaper. That's good. That looks nice. So of course Astrid finds out that he's been training a dragon, and then they go for a ride, and it's the prettiest frickin' thing that's happened since Aladdin used the carpet to seduce his girlfriend. But something upsets Toothless, and they quickly find themselves surrounded by dragons carrying livestock into the fog. They end up at a huge cavern where it turns out that the dragons aren't eating any of the animals, but feeding it all to the giant queen dragon. Astrid insists that they tell Stoic they've discovered the dragon nest, but Hiccup asks her to wait till tomorrow, and he gets a little kiss. Ow! Now it's time for Hiccup to kill his first dragon in some big Viking party. He overhears his dad talking about what a disappointment he used to be and how proud he is of Hiccup now that he's placed first in dragon training. Astrid's all, watch out for the giant fire-breathing reptile, and all Hiccup can think about is letting down his dad. The battle begins and Hiccup throws down his shield, and dude, you went a little bit overboard being all, I'm not one of them. Should have just been cool and made the dragon act like a kitty. This whole thing confuses Stoic so much that he just whoop and bangs with the hammer and throws a fit. That makes the big dragon mad, and now he's throwing a temper tantrum too. Toothless overhears this and flies all low and haphazardly to save Hiccup. That dragon tries so hard. Astrid and Stoic try to save Hiccup but can't, and kabam! Toothless shows up, and yeah, there's no way for this to end good. So this is the first time his dad gets to meet his real best friend, and Toothless just ends up on top of old dad ready to kill him. The Vikings trap the dragon, and well, yeah, now it's time for a reasonable father-son discussion. They have a quick little talk about diplomacy and occupying third world countries, blowback, retaliation. Read up, kids! Hiccup accidentally lets it slip that he's been to the nest. Then he accidentally lets it slip that a dragon can find it, and he just keeps digging himself into a hole. Stoic can't even handle all this, disowns his son, and storms out. Looks like it's all over for them. I mean, how can this love story even end on a good note? They ready the fleet and chain Toothless to a boat. Astrid drives it home by saying he lost his father and his tribe and his friend.
Thank you for summing that up.
You're welcome. Astrid gives him a little pep talk, saying that even though he couldn't kill a dragon, he was the first to ride one. The Viking horde gets closer to the dragon nest, and you can tell because they're in the fog again. And all the dragon trainees follow Hiccup into the arena, like all 80s team-up style, ready to do whatever crazy thing it is. The Viking horde touches down at the dragon nest, while Hiccup gets the kids acquainted with killing not dragons. And zoom! Stoic busts a hole in a mountain and gets ready to kill all the dragons, and they fire stuff in, and they're in what? All the dragons just leave, and the Vikings feel very accomplished until the big dragon breaks out into a massive, more CGI particle effects than you've ever seen in a film. The Vikings get their butts handed to them in like seconds. The boats get fires on them, and they just start fighting back Viking style until trainees show up riding dragons, and you suddenly realize that all the dragons you saw in training perfectly parallel one of the kids, because no matter how different you are, everyone's the same. They come up with a quick plan that actually makes a lot of sense. Astrid helps Hiccup find Toothless, who is still chained to a burning boat. The boat that Toothless is chained to starts to sink, and Hiccup tries to save him. Then there's Stoic having to save Hiccup again, and oh, in goes the big guy. This little moment between the dragon and the father is just kind of Stoic, accepting that he can still be a powerhouse of a man, and that his son is going to be a dragon-loving nerd, and that can work out for everyone. And Dad's all, I'm proud of you, boy. This had to happen before he could defeat the Dragon Queen. Onward to adventure! Toothless does his Night Fury thing, and they save Astrid, and she's all, go, Hiccup, we believe in you. I mean, she doesn't say it, but you can see it in her eyes. And then he dives straight into the Dragon Queen, and bang, boom, yeah, kick ass! Then he coaxes the dragon to chase him on wing, and everyone is cheering, and wait, I'll grab one of those. Okay, and then they get out of the, wait. That's good. Then they just battle the giant dragon, Night Fury, lightning in the skies, everyone's freaking out. And his little tail apparatus catches on fire. Hiccup goes for a Hail Mary, and they shoot a big old blast right into the dragon's mouth on re-entry. And he goes face first into this big flame and explodes like a microwave burrito. The tail burns up, they get whacked, and down they go. It's all quiet and intense. And maybe Toothless is dead. Maybe Hiccup is dead. But he got a dragon hug, so he's okay. Stoic gets all choked up, admitting that the dragon brought his son back home alive. For just a moment there, he wasn't thinking of his son as surviving a battle, just being brought back alive. Cut to a few weeks later. Hiccup wakes up in his room, and Toothless is in there, and it's cute and it's funny until, well, he picks up the blanket and he gets all solemn and acceptant, and How to Train Your Dragon really takes it up a notch. And then it is complete. First, Hiccup broke Toothless with his machine, and now Hiccup has become broken trying to save Toothless and his family. This pretty much never happens in kids' films. There's always consequences for all your actions, kids. Children's movies are always cautionary tales against being a bad kid, but here, there was a consequence for doing the right thing. Hooray! Toothless has to help Hiccup walk, just like he helped him to fly, and as they step outside, Hiccup finds that all of Burke has been overrun with newly trained dragons. Stoic sure is happy, and he goes back to this reference.
All we needed was a little more of this.
See? And that's about as good an ending as you're gonna get in a father-son love story. Just subtle, short of doing anything gross like hugging, but finally Hiccup gets what he's wanted all along. Not earning his dad's respect by being what he expected, but rather his father changed and loves him for who he is. Then there's the kiss, and Gobber, and Hiccup, man, he locks his broken leg into the saddle, which connects to his dragon's broken wing, and that's just awesome. Two halves making a whole. It's like uncutting a PB&J to make a bigger sandwich. But I don't really know what that means. Narration kicks in and he changes up from saying,
The only problems are the pests.
to,
The only upsides are the pets.
because they got frickin' dragons. The end! Alright folks, I'm out. I'm gonna go play some D&D. Thanks for watching ClipNotes summary of How to Train Your Dragon. What other movies would you like to see summed up? What franchises do you think need clip notes so that you can watch upcoming movies without feeling lost? Say what's up in the comments below, and be sure to like and subscribe to Jabberwatching.